Hi everyone, welcome to DSTV class. We will continue our module 1, introduction and design methodology. As we all know, module 1 is a three-part series. Part 1 is introduction and design methodology. Part 2 is combinational basics. Part 3 is sequential basics. Right now we are in the last lecture of the part 1, that is introduction and design methodology, and today's topic is design methodology. This is lecture number 1I. Okay, we'll see what design methodology means. We already seen the digital design flow in our very first class and subsequent classes. Okay, we have seen few times, for quite a few times, the digital design flow means the flow chart of the design flow. Okay, we will try to explore that in a brief manner. Okay, before that we'll see what are the benefits, what does the design methodology refers to, what does it include, what are the benefits. Okay, what how it will benefit the design engineer. Design methodology refers to the, okay, the definition I'm saying it. Design methodology means the systematic process of design, verification and preparing the designing to manufacturing. Okay, design methodology refers to the systematic process of design, verification and manufacturing the product. Okay, the design methodology specifies, okay, the tasks undertaken, the information required and produced by each task, the relationship between the tasks including dependencies, sequencing and the CAD tools used. Okay, it means it's saying that the task undertaken means what type of product we are going to design, and in that product what type of activities, what type of actions it is going to perform. If you take an example of a mobile device as an embedded product, it should be able to perform calling function, it should be able to capture a image through camera. Okay, it should be able to send a message. These are the software part. And when coming to the hardware part, okay, the cells, the logic blocks should be able to support these functionality. Means we should be that there should be a proper architecture for this. Okay, that is an example. What is the meaning of task undertaken? Then information required and the information produced by each task. It means what are uh, the design methodology means what type of input devices it should require, what type of output devices it should be asking. Okay, and the information produced means how the output will be getting. Okay, means if information required and information produced means on what type of voltage the design is going to work, on what type of environment the design will be using. Like this is an analogy. Okay, then the relation between the tasks including dependencies, sequencing and CAD tools used means the flow wise means you have seen, we will be seeing also the flow chart. Yeah, the first part is requirements and constraints, next is designing part, next is verifying part, verifying the design, next is synthesis part, next synthesis verification, next physical design means like this, the hierarchical flow connections, the dependence of the one stage with the previous stage. Okay, that is called dependencies. And sequencing means how the design methodology goes in a sequence. We will see the flowchart once again. And the type of CAD tools used. Okay, we'll be using different type of CAD tools for designing stage means for describing the design, and for verifying the design, and also for physical design stage. Okay, you may use Xilinx for describing the design, you may use some other tool called DC compiler for verifying the design, you may use some Synopsys ICC tool for physical design stage, and you may use PrimeTime tool for verifying the timing, for performing timing analysis. Okay, the design method also specifies the type of tools we are going to use at different stages. We'll see once again the design flow. Okay, the design methodology, okay, uh, it is a reflective one, and it also specify the measurements for a design process such as adherence to schedule and measured, number of design errors detected and missed. Okay, the design methodology will also gives the uh, with respect to the cost effective and the previous design data. Okay, and the benefits of the design methodology is it, the previous project can be used for the present project and in upcoming future projects. How? The benefit of using the earlier done project, okay, it will use it will help in improving the design methodology for subsequent projects, okay, by using the readily available tested project, successful project, previous successful project, okay. By using it in our present project, we will be saving our designing time, verifying time, okay. By using the readily available already done previous project in our present project, it will save us much of the time, design time, verifying time. Then the benefit of a good methodology is that it makes the design process more reliable, more predictable, and reduces the cost also, okay. By following some systematic design, this systematic design methodology, okay, we can work around, say, means since the design methodology has been proven, it is best and it is a systematic process, so we can follow the design methodology and we can um, design our product, okay. And reducing the cost means we are saving the time, so cost is also reducing. Then this design methodology can be used for a simple design project, a small design project, as well as to the complex project. We'll be seeing a simple relative design methodology and a hierarchical design methodology, okay. We'll see the relative design methodology. First step is what is requirements and constraints. Yes, the first step of the design methodology is requirements and constraints. Once we get the requirements and constraints, we will be starting our design, okay. We'll try to describe our design at the design stage. Once we describe our design, what is the next step? We need to test our design, whether the design is going to give the proper output or not. If you design an app header, what you will do? You will give the number of inputs, combination of inputs. You will give the 0 0 combination, 0 1 combination, 1 0 combination, and 1 1 combination. What you will check? You will check the sum output and carry output, whether are you going to get the proper addition output, right, and you are getting the proper carry or not. What does that mean? It means functional verification, okay. Once you describe the design, you need to verify the functionality of the design. That is called functional verification. If the design is giving proper output, we will move on to the next stage. If the design is not giving the proper output, we will be going back to the describe design stage, and we'll be checking the functionality of the design, and we'll see whether the functionality is correct or not. If functionality is not correct, we'll try to correct the functionality, okay. When the functional, the design is functioning properly, means it is giving proper output, we will move to the next stage, okay. See, the design stage is done. We'll verifying the After the designing, we will be verifying the functionality of the design, and we will be checking whether the design is giving proper output or not. If it is not giving, we will move back to the design stage and we'll correct the errors. If it is functional verification is correct, okay, then we'll move to the next stage, synthesize means whatever the design we have described, it is in a word, it is in an equation form, okay, boolean function form, okay. That should be realized in terms of gates, logic blocks, right? That will be done in synthesis stage. The tool will convert the whatever the equations we have expressed for describing our design, that will be converted into the circuits and interconnections among them according to the equations we have defined, okay. The circuit connections will be obtaining here, and after the circuit placement and circuit connections are obtained, we will be verifying that synthesis. Circuit connections means we'll verifying the synthesis, okay. Why? Because we need to make sure whatever the tool have been converted our described design in terms of circuits, is that circuit and its connections are meeting our requirements. Is it meeting the area requirement? Is it meeting the power requirements, like this, okay. This we will do in the post synthesis verification stage, okay. Basically we will be checking is the design is a optimized design, means is it meeting our area and requirement. Optimized design means whether the design is meeting our area requirements and constraints, okay. That we will do here, okay. If it is not the if the design is not if the synthesized design is not meeting our requirements, we will be going back, okay. We will test for that one. If it is not meeting our requirements, we will go back to the previous stage. We will try to resynthesize, Okay, we'll try to resynthesize and we'll try to get the better circuit connections. If from that also we are not, after that we'll again verify. From that also we are not meeting our requirements, we'll go back to the design stage and we'll be trying to redescribe our design for get a better optimized design. Once the optimized design is meeting our requirements, we will move to the next stage. The next stage is physical design. Physical design means basically whatever the tool has been generated, some circuit connections, circuit blocks, and um, for a then we will try to do manual placement of the blocks and establishing wire connections between them. Okay, this part usually done for a ASIC design, means a very large application. Okay, in physical design we will be doing floor planning stage, we'll be doing placement stage, and we'll be routing means wiring connections. Okay, once the physical design stage has been done, we will be verifying whether the placement of the cells, wiring connections between the cells is proper or not. Means proper or not means whether is it meeting the area requirements, power requirements, okay, and all. Okay, we will verify the physical design stage also. Once the physical design stage has been verified at physical verification stage, okay, if it is not passed, we will go back to the physical design stage and we will try to redo the physical design stage. Else we will go back to the synthesis stage, we will try to resynthesize. If resynthesis also not giving optimized, we will go back to the redesigning stage. Okay, then if the physical verification is giving that physical, whatever the physical implementation is done is correct, then we will move to the next stage. The next stage of the physical verification is manufacturing. We will be sending the physically verified design into the manufacturer, means IC manufacturer. Okay, once the ICS has been manufactured, we'll separate the we'll test the ICs on the silicon wafer itself. We'll separate the defective ICs one side and properly functioning ICs one side, and we'll send them to the packaging. After the packaging is done, before selling it to the customer, we'll go for testing. Okay, I'll summarize the design, simple design methodology step. First is we are going to get the requirements and constraints. After that we'll describe the design, then we'll verify the functionality of the design. We'll test whether the design is giving proper output or not, means we'll verify the functionality. If it is correct, we will go to the next stage. If it is not, we'll go back to the design stage. Then once the functionality is correct, you will go back to the synthesis stage. Okay, and synthesis is done, we'll go back, we'll try to verify the synthesis at post synthesis verification, and we will check whether the synthesis is correct or not. If it is not, we'll go back to the redesigning stage. Okay, if synthesis verification is correct, we'll move to the physical implementation stage. Okay, if physical implementation has been done, we'll verify the physical design. Okay, if it, then we will test whether the physical design is correct or not. Okay, if it is not, we'll go back to the again re-physical design, or if needed we go for re-synthesis verification, else we'll go back to the redesigning. Okay, if the physical verification is done, we'll move on to the manufacturing. Okay, we'll move on to the manufacturing stage. In manufacturing stage, we'll separate the defective ICs and properly functioning ICs, and after that we'll send to the testing. Once the testing is done, we'll sell to the customers. That is about the flow of the simple design methodology. Okay, in the in the detailed design methodology, we saw architectural stage also, and we saw software hardware integration also. Okay, that is about the a design methodology, detailed design methodology. This is a simple design methodology. Okay, we'll see what is a relative simple design methodology involves. The first part, the starting point of the relative simple design methodology is collection of requirements and constraints. Means requirements and constraint means what type of product we are developing, whether are we going to design a smart mobile phone, or are we going to design a alarm design, okay, a burglar alarm. Okay, like this we will first try to know the what type of product we are going to design. Then we'll collect the requirements, what type of output devices we require, what type of input devices we require. Okay, we'll collect the requirement information. Then after constraint means at what voltage the device should be able to work. Whether it should be a the design is going to you design developing for a consumer application or a um non-consumer application. The voltage it should work for a low power or it should work for a home applications. Means whether it should work for a 1 volt supply or 2 volt supply or for a home applications like the typical voltages. Okay, we'll try to see this, and also we'll try to collect the information of at what environment condition the device could be used, whether it's going to use underground water or it's going to use in a sunny area or it's in a cold area. Okay, for example, usually this requirements and constraints will be done by a marketing group. Okay, the requirements and constraints usually include function requirements, what the product is supposed to do, and the performance requirements means whether the device is going to work fast or slow. And it means performance requirements means whether it is a real-time system or a non-real-time system. In simple, in general, you can think. And constraints on power consumption, like power consumption, like what type of voltage is device going to work on. And cost and packaging, what will the cost of the manufacture designing, manufacturing, and selling. Okay, the design methodology specifies 3 tasks. This is about simple design methodology. Previously we saw the description of the design methodology. Now we are seeing the simple design methodology. It involves 3 tasks: one design, next synthesis, next one is physical implementation. These are the simple design methodology tasks. First one is design, synthesis, physical verification, physical implementation. Each of these tasks will be undergoing verification. We might you have seen the figure, right? In that, after design, what we do, we'll verify the designs. And after synthesis, what you're doing, we are verifying the synthesis. After physical implementation, what you're doing, we are verifying the physical implementation. Means each of these steps, design, synthesis, physical implementation, are followed by a verification task. Okay, if verification fails, if verification fails at functional verification, at synthesis verification, and physical implementation verification, if any of these verification fails, we must revisit the previous task. This we have seen in the flow chart. Okay, we will going back to the previous task. If the physical verification has been failed, we'll be going back to the physical implementation stage, and we'll try to do the physical implementation. Okay, if that also not fixing, we'll be going to the resynthesize. Okay, if the synthesis is also not going working, we'll going to redesign. Okay, we need to go back step by one to the previous stage. Then the design task involves understanding the requirements and constraints and developing a specification of a digital circuit that meets the requirements and constraints. This is what we have done, right? We will first try to understand what type of design we are going to design, what type of output devices, what type of input devices, at what temperature condition it is going to work, at what voltage the design, what type, at what voltage the design is going to be work. Okay, the first we will try to understand, then we will develop a specification of the digital circuit. Okay, that meets the design requirements and constraints, and we'll try, and at each of the design stage will be design verification and physical design stage, we'll be checking this whether the design has been meeting the requirements or not. Okay, the information produced by this task is a collection of models that describe the design. Okay, the methodology then specifies to verify the function of the design using techniques such as, okay, we are seeing we are hearing that we will be verifying the design. Okay, what are the techniques are there? Okay, first the techniques are, you all know, simulation and functional verification, formal verification. You have seen different types of verification in verification class. Okay, and just introducing here the type of the verification for function to check the function of the designer. One is simulation, next is formal verification. Simulation is nothing but we'll be giving a set of input vectors, input values for inputs, and combination for input in the means of combination of inputs. For example, to test an AND gate, what we'll do, we'll give the combination of 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. Okay, like this we'll give the combinations of input values to the inputs, and and we will be getting the waveforms. We'll be getting the output in terms of waveforms in simulation stage. And in formal verification, we'll be giving the set of combinations, input combinations. In preparation for the verification task, you should prepare a verification plan. Okay, we cannot try to give in whatever the input combinations manually, because for a simple design we can give for a 2 input we can give 4 combinations, for a 3 input we can give 8 combinations, for a 4 input we can give 16 combinations. What about n input? Can we give? We can give n combinations, but it will take more time. More time means the more cost. So so we need to come up with, instead of wasting the time and wasting the money, we should come up with a verification plan. Okay, there should be a proper verification plan. Okay, what does verification plan means? Verification plan defines what input and output cases should be verified and what CAD tool should be used. It means what type of tool we need to use for verifying a design. First we need to decide this, then uh, we need to check important input combinations and important output combinations. Okay, this should be included by the verification plan. Then that is about a simple related design methodology. Next we will move on to the hierarchical design methodology. It's also called as hierarchical composition. Another form of abstraction that allows us to manage design complexity is hierarchical composition. Means hierarchical means, yes, we will be moving to the next stage one with respect to the superior hierarchy. Okay, we'll not directly move into the any stage. We'll move step wise. First step, second step, third step. We'll not directly go into the end step. We'll start from the first step. This is the hierarchy. Okay, the hierarchical design methodology or hierarchical composition involves developing a sub-circuit that performs some relatively simple function. Okay, and treating it as a black box. Okay, hierarchical means, okay, I will give an idea. If consider you are designing a ripple carrier, 4-bit ripple carrier. What you will do for designing a 4-bit ripple carrier? Are you going to take 4 input for A input, 4 B input, and 1 carry input and 1 carry output? Yes, absolutely. And how do you describe the design? How do you describe directly the ripple carrier? That is somewhat thinking, right? Yes. Instead of design, right? What we will do? We will design the ripple carrier, 4-bit ripple carrier, using 4 full adders. Correct? We will design the 4-bit ripple carrier using 4 full adders. Now, what the full adder is doing? It is acting as a sub circuit. Okay, 4-bit ripple carrier is a main circuit. Okay, we are designing 4-bit ripple carrier using 4 full adders. Means the 4 full adders are sub circuit now. Okay, we will call that each individual full adder as a block box. Now how we going to design the full adders, efficient full adder? We will be designing the full adder using half adders. Right, now the half adders have become sub circuit for the full adders. Like this, to design a ripple carrier adder, we will be first designing a half adder, then with the help of half adder we are going to design full adders. Then using number of full adders we will be designing a complete ripple 4-bit ripple carry adder. Correct? Yes. Now the half adder is acting as a sub circuit for full adder. Full adder is acting as a sub circuit for ripple carry adder. This is called hierarchy. Hierarchy means now we got the concept of hierarchy, right? Yes. Ripple carry adder consisting of full adders consisting of half adders. This is what hierarchical means. Okay, we will develop a complete design with the help of a sub circuits, where each of the sub circuit is treated as a block box. Okay, the sub circuit you can then use it in a larger circuit that performs a more complex function. I hope that these three lines have been conveyed with the help of a ripple carry adder, full adder, designing a ripple carry adder example. Okay, the sub circuit might be a small liquid crystal display LCD controller, which is used as a part of the user interface of a cordless phone. What I have given is a simple example. When it comes to a real-time example, as a cordless phone, okay, as a cordless phone. The cordless phone involves a key buttons to to enter the numbers. It will be having a receiver, it will be having a transmitter, it will be having a display. Okay, in that one sub circuit is a LCD display, a LCD controller. Sorry, LCD controller. The display is there. To control the display, we need a controller, LCD controller. Okay, that is called a sub circuit. Okay, similarly for proper functionality of the keypad, we'll be using a keypad controller. That the keypad controller will act as a sub circuit. Okay, this is an example of a sub circuit and black box. At each level of the hierarchical design, we can focus on the aspects that are relevant and hide the details of the lower level components. We have seen the module get instantiation, module instantiation, right? Yes, what you are doing, while module instantiation, what you are doing, we are just using the name of the module in a design. We are not describing the design again. We are just using the name and port list of the design, that module in another design. That is the hiding details of the lower level components. Okay, using abstraction in this way makes the task of designing complex systems tractable. Okay, this allows to us to reuse the sub circuits either from PS project or from third party providers. How reusing means, once we have designed the half header, we can use the same half header for designing a full header, or directly we can use it in a construction of the first stage of the ripple carrier header, or we can use it in any of the adders. Okay, half header can be used in other circuits also. Similarly, full headers can also be used to construct different types of adders, right? Yes, this sub circuits can be used in other circuits, so we can reuse this. And the hierarchical composition in a design makes also functional verification more tractable. Tractable means somewhat easier. Okay, first we can verify each of the most primitive subcircuits as independent units. Okay, in hierarchical combination we can verify the subcircuit. Okay, and we can verify the next stage. Likewise, we can verify the complete design stage wise. If we take the ripple carrier header, we can verify the half header, then we can verify the full header, then we can verify the ripple carrier header. Okay, first verify the subcircuit, then verify the subsystem. Okay, we can make the verification easier. Okay, subsystem means the combination of subcircuits. Okay, subsystem is nothing but a combination of subcircuits, a collection of subcircuits or collection of black boxes. In particular, we can use more abstract models of the black box subcircuits instead of detailed models that describe their internal composition. Okay, see, this approach means that the verification tools have less work to do, allowing them to verify more input-output cases for a subsystem. It means that hierarchical way of designing. Okay, from small cell to big cell, so from big cell to larger cell. Okay, like this, if we go, the designing is also easier, the verification also is easier. We can repeat this process until we have verified the entire system. See, the designing is becoming simpler and the verification is also becoming simpler. We can use hierarchical designing for a better design implementation, but we cannot use this hierarchical combination for all the design steps. For simple design, for complex, we cannot use. We can use at a complex designs. We'll see the hierarchical design and verification design flow. Okay, first step is requirements and constraints. Okay, it is the first step, is is the most required one. First we need to get the requirements and we need to check the constraints, and next is architecture design. Hope you all know the architecture design means where exactly the blueprint of a design. Next we need to design leaf cells, unit design. We need to design the sub circuits. Next you need to verify the sub circuit. Okay, then if the verification is done, we need to test the design sub circuit. If verification is okay, we will move to the next stage, else we will move to the design stage. If needed, we'll go back to the architecture stage. Okay, next, if it is the verification is okay, we will move to the integration verification. What is integration verification means? We will, okay, yes, yes, unit design. Hope you got the word unit design. Unit design means we need to design the sub circuit. Unit verification means we need to verify the sub circuit. Similarly, if you take an example of a 4-bit triple carrier again, 4-bit triple carrier is designed using 4 full adders, right? Yes, what each 4 full adder is a sub circuit. Okay, combination of all these full adders. Okay, we'll be designing a ripple 4-bit triple carrier adder. Okay, hope you got the integration verification means we need to verify all these sub circuits and subsystem. Okay, it means when you are describing a ripple carrier adder, okay, you will be instantiating the full adder modules, right? And when you are instantiating full adders, you need to include that file also, full adder file. And when you are instantiating full adder, and that full adder is designed using half adder, then you need to include half adder file also. Then you need to verify all this full adder, half adder, and triple carrier. That is called integration verification. If it is not okay, we'll going back to the previous stage. If it's done, we'll move back to the next stage. Okay, the difference between the other design method, simple related design methodology and hierarchical design methodology is, in simple design methodology or the design methodology, okay, you will be designing entire, you will be describing entire design, you will be verifying entire design. Okay, whereas in hierarchical design, you will be verifying a unit, a sub circuit. You will be designing a sub circuit. Okay, unit design means you will be sub circuit design, and unit verification means sub circuit verification. Okay, please make sure in hierarchical design you will be designing a sub circuit. Unit design, you will be verifying a sub circuit. Okay, and you will be finally you will be verifying integration, the collection of all the sub circuits. Okay, please make sure, please note this, the differences between hierarchical and other design methodology. Okay, I'll repeat again. In hierarchical, you will be describing a sub circuit. You will be describing a sub circuit, you will be verifying a sub circuit, and you will be verifying integration of all those sub circuits. Okay, then after the verification has been done, functional verification has been done, the next step is, yes, correct, synthesis and verification of the synthesis and post synthesis verification. What is synthesis? We have seen synthesis is the automatic refinement and optimization of a model at higher level of abstraction to a structural model at a lower level of abstraction. Okay, higher level of abstraction means we have described in words, right? We have described in equation. That is called higher level of abstraction. That equation converting into a circuit level and its interconnection is called lower level. Okay, that is called synthesis. Synthesis is usually performed from register transfer level to gate level. Okay, gate level means the collection of the collection of logic gates and interconnection according to the functional description. Okay, hope you got the synthesis meaning. Behavioral synthesis is also called high-level synthesis. High-level synthesis means synthesis from higher levels of abstraction to RTL. Means, behavioral synthesis is nothing but it doesn't include the actual functionality part. Like means it include how it is described in behavioral design. The design described how the design will actually work. We are not going to define the interconnection of the circuits, means for Boolean functions. We'll just give how the design is. For example, if you take a D flip flop, what we'll do, we'll call a always block, and we will always set of posits clock. Okay, if okay, at posits clock Q will be D. Okay, at negates clock Q will be previous one. Like this we will not define the interconnection part. Behavioral synthesis is less mature. This is about a simple design. This is about a design methodology what we saw in the previous lecture slide. In order to perform RTL synthesis, we specify information about the implementation fabric that we intend to use for our design. Okay, this means once we get the finish our functional verification, okay, we need to give we will go for synthesis and verification of that one. Okay, in order to perform that synthesis, okay, we need to give some inputs to the design, okay, to the CAD tool. Okay, we will be giving the timing parameters. We will be giving we will be giving some of the inputs at the designing stage only. Before the designing stage, we'll be designing the our requirements. Okay, our requirements and constraints at the beginning of the design stage. From that, we will going to develop the. We are going to get the synthesized one. Okay, we might also annotate the RTL models with additional information to guide the synthesis CAD tool in its optimization task. Okay. The CAD tool, once it gets the required information, it selects the primitive components from the library. Means it selects the library. There will be different types of library cells, logic cells. It selects the tool selects the optimized better logic cell which meets our requirements. Okay, and it will construct the circuit. Okay, it means primitive components means logic cells. The logic cells which are available in the tool library. Okay, we need to, according to a specification, according to your given input information, okay, the tool will from the described description, the tool will construct the circuit from the library cells. Okay, the library may contain further the library will also contain the timing parameters of the logic cell, the power, how much power that logic cell will consume. That information will also be will be available with the library cells. For example, the library cell may contains 2 input AND gate, 3 input AND gate, 4 input AND gate, 5 input AND gate. Okay, and all these different number of input AND gates, we have timing parameters, and their power consumption will also be available in the details will also be available in the library. Based on that, we can use this logic cells in our design. Uh, Our design methodology shows that we use this information together with the refined design produced by the synthesis tool to further verify the design. Okay, uh, uh, this means we can refine the design. We can refine the design and we can also verify the design. What is actually telling means if the post synthesis verification is not meeting our requirements, we can do resynthesis. Next, after the synthesis has been verified, synthesized design has been verified, we will be checking the we will be going to the physical implementation stage. Okay, physical implementation stage. Before that, we'll see one type of analysis that is called static timing analysis. Means performance of the design. Okay, without not functionality, just checking whether are we going to get the output at correct time or not. When you give an input to a system, are we will be expecting output at a proper time, that we will be testing. Okay, that is called static timing analysis. Okay, whether the design is giving the output at proper time or not. This timing analysis is called static timing analysis. This is done by static timing analysis tool. Static timing analysis tool will use the timing parameters and information which we are provided. Okay, which we are provided. Okay, about the how the components are connected. Means you know the propagation delay. Okay, it will consider the maximum delay and minimum delay along that path. Okay, based on that information, that static timing analysis tool performs the timing verification of the design. Okay, the static timing analysis tool can estimate propagation delays in the circuit and verify that timing constraints are met or not. Okay, it will take the propagation delays, minimum delay and maximum delay from path here, from input to output path. Okay, then it will gives whether it is working, it is giving, is it giving the output at proper time or not. Okay, this is about a static timing access tool. Next we will be moving to the physical implementation stage. That we have seen in the physical design stage, we are going to do floor planning, placement and routing, right? Yes, the next one is floor planning. The floor planning is done by a floor planning tool. This tool will be using the information about the floor planning tool will be using the information about number of transistors. Number of transistors are present in the design, and amount of wiring connections has been established between those transistors. This will be done by a floor planning. This information will be uh, obtaining by a floor planning tool, with the help of this information, okay, the floor planning tool can estimate the area of the design. Okay, how much the area should be required for that particular design. Okay, and the floor planning tool also verifies that area. Okay, verifies that area, and it also verifies the packaging constraints. Okay, the floor planning will be using the information about the number of transistors required for a design and amount of wiring connections required for interconnection of these transistors, and then this tool will estimate the area of the design, and it verifies the area also, whether this area is meeting our requirement or not, or it is the area is increasing, or it is saving the area. Okay, this will be done by the floor planning tool. Okay, a further step of the verification is equivalence checker. Equivalence checker can compare the function of the refined design with that of the original RTL design. What is equivalence checker? Why we need to check? This will compare with the reference design. We are designing, we are verifying, we are synthesizing, we are doing physical design also. Okay, but how to ensure it's a perfect design, it's a proper design or not? For that, we will be verifying with, we'll be checking the compatibility, we'll be checking the performance with the available design, model. Okay, to verify that the synthesis tool has done its job correctly and the functional requirements are still met or not. Okay, we'll be using a equivalence checker to compare the functionality of the refined design with that of the original RTL design, to verify the synthesis tool has done its job correctly and that functional requirements are met or not. um, and diving into the physical implementation stage. Okay, in physical implementation stage, we can the we will be placing the cells, will be establishing wiring connections. Okay, we'll see the physical implementations for two types of applications. One is FPGA, field programmable gate arrays application, and ASIC, okay, application specific integrated circuits, ASICs. Okay, for FPGA, okay, an FPGA consists of a large number of gates and flip-flops, whereas the interconnection between the cells can be determined or programmed after the IC manufacture. In FPGA, field programmable gate arrays, the interconnections between the cells can be done after the IC have been manufactured, or after the IC have been manufactured, the interconnections between the cells can be programmed. The advantages of FPGA: FPGAs are widely used for a range of circuits of varying size and complexity. The FPGAs can be reprogrammed and are cost effective for nearly all but large volume applications. Okay, the FPGAs can be suitably used for medium complex applications. Okay, the benefit or advantage is that by using this FPGA, we can reprogram our design, we can reconnect our design. Okay, uh, then about ASIC. ASIC means application specific integrated circuit. This is used for very very large complex circuit design. Okay, these are the ICs that are customized for a particular application and cannot be programmed. Once the ASICs ICs have been manufactured, the interconnections between the circuits will not be able to modify. We cannot remodify the interconnect. We cannot redo the interconnections between the cells. We cannot reprogram. Okay, once ICs have been manufactured, it is last. We cannot rechange the design. We cannot modify the design. Some of the general steps in physical design are mapping. Okay, some of the general steps in physical design are for FPGA and ASICs are as well as in the PCB are mapping, placement and routing. What is mapping? Mapping involves determining the particular circuit resources to be used for each of the components in the refined design. It means what type of cells we need to be used, what type of circuit resources we need to use. And placement and routing, these steps determines where each mapped component is to be positioned in the physical circuit and where the interconnecting wires run. It means where exactly to place the standard logic cells. Placement means where exactly to place the standard logic cells in the available area. Okay, so that we can meet the uh, area requirement. And routing means how to perform efficient wiring connections between these standard cells. Okay, once mapping, placement and routing these steps are done, refined estimates of circuit properties can be extracted from these extra. Okay, once the mapping has done, placement has done, routing has done. Okay, mapping means where exactly to place the logic blocks. Okay, the block cells, macro cells. Okay, placement means where exactly to place the standard cells. Routing means how to establish the connections between logic macro cells and standard cells. Once this mapping, placement and routing are done, we can extract the information from these about area, power area, about the area, what area the design has acquired. Okay, and how much power it is taking. Okay, and its timing parameters. All these informations we can extract from this design stage, and we can check whether it's meeting our design requirements and constraints. Okay, in particular, since the physical wiring details have been determined, propagation delays through wires can be included in the timing estimates. Okay, this is about timing verification. These refined estimates are used to perform final physical verification. Okay, once the placement routing has done, what we'll do, we'll check the timing verification uh, to whether the design is giving the whether the design is working in real time or not. Okay, after that we will go for final physical verification, and that is about physical design. Next stage is physical verification. After the physical design stage as over, we need to go for verifying that physical design. Physical verification steps will be started. The physical verification step um, um, will use the refined estimates of the physical design of the from the mapping, routing, placement and routing. They are going to use for performing the physical verification. Finally, one or more files of information are generated from the manufacturer for they are generated from the physical verification. That file will be sent to the manufacturing, IC manufacturing. Okay, the after the IC have been manufactured, okay, we'll go into the tape out stage. Okay, when that step is passed, means physical verification step is passed, we'll generate a file from it, extraction of file from it, we'll send to the manufacturer. This step is called a golden milestone. This is called a tape out stage. Okay, tape out for ASIC design. Tape out means we'll be sending the design for manufacturing. That is called tape out. Okay, this the in the physical verification, the physical design and physical verification file will contain the information required for manufacturing an IC. Okay, manufacturing an IC. This information can also be nowadays sent through a internet. Okay, the final task shown in the design methodology are manufacturing and test task. Manufacture means IC manufacture. This will be done at the foundry. Okay, this for ASICs, manufacturing is done by a foundry that uses the design information to control the chemical process that form ICs on a silicon wafer. wafers. You all know how the ICs are manufactured on a silicon wafer. How? By chemical processes. Okay, okay. How that chemical processes will be done in a controlled way by you with the help of this information. What information? With the help of the file generated after physical verification stage. With the help of the information after the physical verification stage, that file with the help of that file, the IC manufacturing will be done efficiently. Okay, in a controlled way. Okay, for FPGAs, prefabricated parts are programmed using the design information. Okay, now you all very well aware about IC manufacture. Okay, it will be manufactured the silicon wafer by chemical processes, right? But how? But where we are going to get the input information for IC manufacture? We need to have IC information, right? Where we are going to get? We are getting from these steps: design, verification, synthesis, post synthesis verification, physical design, physical verification. After all these steps, okay, after all these steps, we will be generating a file at the physical verification. We will be generating a complete design file in design information files at the physical verification stage. That information will be sent to the manufacturing foundry. In the manufacturing foundry, we will be manufacturing a IC on a silicon wafer. Hope you got the clear picture of IC manufacture. Okay. Next, ICs test. ASIC test. ASIC test means once the ICs have been manufactured, what we'll do? We'll not send the ICs to the fabrication, right? We will be send ICs. Sorry, not packaging. We'll not send the ICs to packaging. We'll we will test the ICs on the silicon wafer itself. We'll separate the defective ICs one side. We'll separate the properly functioning ICs one side. We will send the properly working ICs to packaging. Okay, and defective ICs, we will note down the why it has become defect. We will note down the date, the information why the IC manufacturer, why some of the ICs have been defective. Okay, so that we can correct the so we can avoid the defective ICs in the next manufacturing process. Okay, and reduce the defective ICs in the next manufacturing process. The test task for ASICs involves exercising each manufactured circuit to ensure that it operates correctly. Okay, the testing of the ICs on a wafer itself, whether because we need to make sure ensure the IC manufactured is working properly or not. Okay. Next, FPGA test. Testing of FPGA ICs also occurs once they are manufactured, but before they are delivered to customers for programming. Once an FPGA has been programmed, the programming device will often read back the program to verify that it has been correctly installed. ASICs test. Some parts which will fail to operate due to defects in the manufacture and must be discarded. The defective ICs must be discarded. Alternately, all of the manufactured parts may fail due to design errors that escaped the various verification tests we performed. Carefully read this third para. It means if any at design stage, okay, if any error comes, okay, if we not fix that error, and we will move to the functional verification. In functional verification also, we will not fix the error. We will move to the synthesis. What will get synthesis? We will get the wrong circuit connections. Okay, okay. We are designing a ripple carry adder. Okay, we are getting a wrong output of off adder. Okay, we are continuing our designing stage, and we are going, and when that adder is implemented, we are going to get the wrong outputs. Okay, if we omit the errors in designing stage, in verification stage, in synthesis stage, in physical design stage, if we neglect the error, okay, the product which you are going to send to the IC manufacturer, okay, it will be sending the wrong data. The wrong data will be converted into a IC. Once that IC, the wrong IC has been manufactured, it will give the wrong output. Okay, right? Yes. What happens when we give the wrong information to the IC manufacturer? Entire IC which are going to get manufactured, it is a wrong functional design. Okay, the entire IC manufacturing will be developed manufacturing a wrong ICs. Okay, then it is a waste of time and waste of money. Identifying the errors that cause such failures is very difficult and costly, involving use of measuring instruments to probe wires within the circuit to trace actual operation. It's much better to avoid bug escapes by verifying the design more thoroughly early in the design process. Carefully observe the last paragraph also. It is very much important to fix the errors at each and every stages. Else, you will be sending a wrong information to the IC manufacturing and you'll be selling a wrong product to the customer. Next, each embedded computer comprises a processor core, a memory, and interfaces. Okay, since the computers must be programmed to implement part of the system's functionality, we must augment our design methodology to include embedded software design. Oh, what it is saying? What we are doing? We are knowing about design methodology. Okay, so if in order to make sure we are as a design engineer, in order to make sure whatever the product we design, it should work properly, it should implement properly, it should be reliable, it should be long durable. So in order to make sure that our product is reliable, we need to follow a proper design methodology. Okay, the initial inputs to the design methodology are the functional requirements and constraints for the design system. Now, okay, we will move into the embedded system design. The embedded computer consists of a processor, okay, a memory, and interfaces to um, for connection, establishing connection between these different components. Okay, the initial inputs to the embedded design methodology involves functional requirements and constraints for the system. It is same. Okay, the initial step is the requirements and constraints, and the next step is architectural design. Okay, the next step is architectural design. The architectural design considerations are: we can choose which aspects of the functionality can be implemented by embedded software on a processor core, and which parts can be implemented as a digital subcircuits, that is by hardware. Okay, this is about embedded system design methodology. We are going. First step is functional requirements and constraints. Next step is the architectural design, and the next in embedded design means it involves hardware parts and software part. Okay, the hardware parts are LCD screen, LED screen, buzzers, okay, and keypads, keyboards. All these are hardwares. In order to make this work better, we need to define software for this. We need to program these keypads, keyboards, LCDs, LED, right? We need to program, right? LED display, LCD display, what you see the traffic signal, the LED display, it should be programmed. So there's an involvement of the hardware and software. So we need to go for the hardware software co-design process. We will go to the hardware software co-design. In embedded system design methodology, we need to go for hardware software co-design. Since the hardware components are there and subsequent software component, software program should be done for those hardwares, we need to verify, we need to go for a co-design process, that is called hardware software co-design. What is hardware software co-design? That is designing the hardware and software for a system together is called hardware software co-design. I have cleared. I think I have cleared. We are going to use hardware components, and in order to make those hardware components work faster, we need to program them. For example, traffic light display. Okay, next, partitioning. What is partitioning? Deciding which parts to put in hardware and which you put in hardware and which in software is called partitioning. Partitioning means which parts to be put in the hardware and which parts to be put in the software. This is called partitioning. Design trade-offs. There are numerous trade-offs to consider. Okay, the functionality trade-off, the cost trade-off, the area trade-off. Okay, and the power trade-off means we need to compromise with one another: area, power, cost. Okay, the functionality that involves testing many conditions and taking alternative actions can be hard to implement in hardware, but is relatively straightforward in software. Okay, the testing procedure, functionality testing of a hardware and software may be a, for functional testing of hardware it may cost more, and functional testing of software it may cost less, or vice versa. On the other hand, functionality that involves performing rapid computations on a large amounts of data, or data that arise at a high rate, okay, may need a very high performance and may be costly and may consume more power. Hence they are costly and power hungry. Okay, um, and also so they require a customized hardware parts. Okay, definitely when you go and customize, the cost may reduce somewhat. A further consideration is that embedded software may be stored in memory circuits that may be reprogrammed after the system is manufactured or deployed. Memory means it depends whether we need to use a programmable memory or non-programmable memory. Yeah, thus the software may be upgraded to correct The software may be upgraded to correct the design errors, and to add functionality without revising the hardware design or replacing deployed systems. Okay, these are the trade-offs. And once functionality has been partitioned between hardware and software, development of the two can proceed concurrently as shown in figure 124. We are seeing the hardware software co-design development methodology in embedded system design methodology. Okay, first step is requirements and constraints. Next step is partitioning into hardware part. See, the partitioning is going to hardware part and software part. Okay, first requirements and constraints, then we need to partition the the hardware components and software components. In hardware requirements and constraints, hardware verification. In software requirements and constraints, software design, software verification. And after that, we'll be checking whether the hardware design and software design are correct or not. If it is not, we'll revisit the design stage, we'll revisit the hardware design stage, we'll revisit the software design stage, and we will try to get the optimized better one. Then we'll be sending it to the manufacturing. We'll be sending it to the hardware and software to the combined to the manufacturing, and after that, once the manufacturing is done, we'll test before sending to the customer. Okay, this is the embedded system design methodology involving hardware software co-design. Okay, um, that concludes our today's lecture. Okay, um, for those aspects of the embedded software that depends on hardware, the abstract behavioral models from the hardware design task can be used to verify the software design. This means whatever we are partitioning here hardware and software, we need to verify each of the design. We need to verify each of this hardware and compatible software. Okay, subsequently we need to update. Okay, a similar approach can be used to verify parts of the hardware that interface directly with the processor core. Okay, and we need to test those. We need to test before selling to the customer. Test programs can be run using the processor simulator, running in tandem with the hardware simulator. The benefits of developing hardware and software concurrently means the benefits of the hardware software co-design include avoiding the extra time involved in developing one after the other and early detection of errors in the interplay of software and hardware. It means the advantage of hardware software co-design, these are the advantages, is instead of going first designing the hardware, then programming that hardware with the help of software. Okay, that is a time consuming. Instead of, we'll first partition, we'll first decide what type of hardware required and what type of software required to program that hardware. First we will decide, and after that we'll simultaneously do the hardware design and software design. This helps in timing, this saves in time. Okay, and also helps in early detection of the errors in the hardware and software design, and we can fix that. Okay, these are the advantages of hardware software design. Hardware software co-design. The advantage of hardware software co-design is avoiding extra time involved. Avoiding extra time involved for hardware design, avoiding extra time involved for software design, and we can detect the errors early in the hardware design and software design. These are the two advantages of the hardware software design co-design. By this, we are concluding our part 1 of the module 1. Okay, thank you all.